Structured, disciplined, suffocating. That's the kind of team Aurora is, the reigning world champion. And for Omega, this wasn't just another series. Lose here and the road to playoff ends tonight. The pressure was crushing, the mistakes kept piling up, and Omega looked finished. But then, they did the impossible. But before we get into that, we need a quick recap of Game 1 first because this story isn't about Aurora, it's about how Omega survived them. So Aurora got the first pick, and Omega instantly removes Basha and Zushin, two insanely strong objective control heroes, especially Basha, one of Demon Kite's comfort pick. Freya also got banned because she's just broken in teamfights with barely any viable counters for her this season. Aurora responds with Marcel, Phoveus, and Glue, removing heroes that can disrupt their jungle and objective setups. With that, Aurora locks in Valentina, a huge denial pick. It heavily limits Omega's draft. Any hero with strong ultimate becomes risky to pick because it can just get stolen. Plus, Valentina strengthens Aurora's mid trio since she doesn't need much to be impactful after she has level 4. Omega answers by picking Carry and Guinevere, shifting their focus to shutting down Aurora's laners instead. Guinevere forces Aurora to pick mobile heroes, while Carry melts heroes that needs to get close. And Aurora keeps it stable with Cloud plus Sora, a safe combo for consistent damage and area control. Cloud also fits perfectly since Guinevere forces agile heroes. They also add Scalia, signaling a pick of draft and play the numbers game. They also ban response roamers like Gatot and Hylos to make Kalia's job easier. And Omega adds Pharsa to give positioning pressure in fights to the jungler along with Jennifer. So Aurora finished the draft with Suyo plus Grok, locking in their classic objective control setup. Grok controls space, Suyo dominates retrieve fights, and Valentina ties it all together. And Omega closes with Lapu so that Valentina isn't that free when she's stealing Pharsa's ult. Overall, Aurora's draft is just cleaner for objective and team fights, and that's the reason why Aurora won the first match. Early game, Omega tries to invade, but Aurora plays it smart. Demon Kite secures level advantage first instead of forcing fights on his jungle. Then Aurora makes the first big move. They bait Omega into a fight before Turtle, burn his skills, and sandwich them. The result, free Turtle, buff secured, and Suyo starts snowballing. From there, it's classic Aurora. Win Turtle, win lanes, and build gold lead. So second Turtle, they got free. Third Turtle, same story. Another bait, another clean setup. Aurora just keeps stacking advantages through discipline and macro. When Lord spawns, Aurora keeps control. Even when Omega finds a pick on Edward, Aurora instantly punishes with UA stealing Pharsa's ult and flipping the fight around. So they secure the first Lord, then control the second, and the third with tight setups and zoning. And Omega has strong tools for defending. Pharsa for wave clear, Carry for damage, Kalia and Jennifer to kidnap key heroes. But Aurora's draft just has better area control. Grok walls, Sora's disruption, and Valentina's ult steal, so Omega can't move freely. And Aurora closes out game 1 cleanly because of better draft, better control, and just way cleaner execution overall. So every big team fight, Omega just couldn't match the damage spread or the control. But that's only game 1, because in the next game, everything goes completely off script. Omega flips the entire series in a way nobody saw coming. Let's be real, having no skin is annoying. All of your friends are all showing off those fancy recalls while you're stuck with this blue one. And you're jealous because let's be honest, diamond prices are way too high. If that's you, I'm sure you're gonna love NUGM. You see, the top-ups here are 21% cheaper than in-game. And new users also get an additional 8% sidewide coupon just for signing up. That means a weekly diamond pass only costs this much. That's significantly cheaper. To catch the discount, first click the link down below, choose your game and also the amount, drop your ID and server. Once you pay, the diamond comes in instantly without any logins or password needed so your account stays safe. And if you're worried, their PC IDs are certified with a killer reputation on Trustpilot. So stop overpaying and grab those discounts using my link below. Thanks to NJGM for sponsoring this video. Omega is behind 1 point and they got the first pick, so Omega goes for full respect bans. More specifically, they're targeting Aurora's objective control heroes. They're basically saying, yeah, we're not letting you play your game. Because Aurora was one of the most consistent teams when it comes to this strategy from start to finish. Against Alter Ego, Liquid, SRG, it didn't matter, they just kept winning with it. And every time they tried to switch things up, like what you're seeing here, they just kept losing. And even now in MPL regular season, Aurora is still relying on that same strategy almost every game. So Jennifer and Phoveus got banned because those two are just a disgusting combo around objective areas. Basha also got banned. He is one of Demon Kite's signature hero. You can literally see the pattern. Every time Aurora gets Basha, their win chance goes up by a mile. Aurora also throws in a respect ban. Marcel, Pretty much every team going against Smart Omega almost always bans Marcel because that's basically Perk's hero. I'm sure you already know how annoying a good Marcel is, especially around the Lord Pit, the kiting, the disruption, the time stop. It just completely messes up your team's tempo and coordination. And even if you try to pick him yourself, he's a high risk high reward hero. It doesn't really fit Aurora's playstyle since they prefer to minimize risk and avoid unnecessary moves. Zushin and Freya also gets banned. No explanation needed at this point. Freya had like above 90% contest rate across every single MPL regions right now, just because how hard she is to deal with, especially in big team fights, and there are barely any viable counters for her in this meta. While Zushin is a hero that really limits the enemy's draft. She counters walking heroes, heroes who can't dash, and high damage but stationary heroes. She's also one of the best zoner in the game, so it's gonna be really annoying to fight her with a group up strat, and Aurora's core strat is group up, so yeah, just ban her, no need to think. The main problem for Omega in previous game was Valentina, so they immediately first pick her here. Last game, Valentina was insanely annoying. Not only she restrict Omega's draft because they can't pick heroes with fight decider ultimates, in game, Valentina always stole Omega's high value ults to flip the fight against them. So now Omega is the one who takes Valentina, while Aurora secures Suyo and Kimi. Suyo is one of the strongest objective control heroes in the game right now, mainly because of his retribution power. So in retribution fights, Aurora automatically has a higher chance to secure Turtle or Lord. On top of that, his farming speed is fast and his rotations are quick too, so it's gonna be easy for them to build an early gold lead. But then there's Kimi. She's also an objective control hero, mostly because of her zoning and consistent damage. She can control space really well around the Lord Pit, making it hard for the enemies to step in comfortably. But Kimi's role here isn't just zoning. She's also picked to win the match up against Valentina because those two basically counter each other in different ways. In a 1v1 or small fights, Kimi wins because of her consistent damage output. But in full team fights, Valentina has the edge because her kit is flexible. She can adapt depending on which ultimate she steals. So as long as it's not a full-on 5v5 team fight, Aurora will almost always have the damage advantage on their mid side. Then Omega picks Harley and Cloud. This time, they're not playing that stick together, kidnap someone and play the numbers game style like before because of Kimi. In the previous game, Omega could rely on pick-off plays and win through the numbers advantage. Since they use team-dependent heroes, their damage won't work if they don't attack at the same time. But now, they have someone who's annoying whatever the situation is. So Omega shift to a safer playstyle. Even though they're still using burst heroes, but this time, they lean towards the push and pull playstyle. Harley also helps match Suyo's farming tempo. It's not exactly equal, but it's close enough. Sure, Harley loses in retry power, but Suyo doesn't have magic damage reduction when he's in his possessed state, which makes him pretty vulnerable to Harley's burst. Basically, Harley is the new Joy when fighting Suyo. And stopping Harley isn't as easy as stopping other burst junglers. You need something like a proper targeted stun with decent duration if you want to deal with him consistently. And Aurora responds exactly to that. They pick Kalia to deal with Harley. Cloud also gets affected by that pick because he needs to be more careful when diving the backline now, or he'll just get lifted by Kalia. So Omega bans Yisan and Shin to make sure their pick-off attempts don't get ruined by his global vision. Uranus also gets banned because killing a tanky sustained hero like that would just be a nightmare with one-shot skills heroes like in Omega. On Aurora's side, they keep banning the same type of heroes from game 1, those that can disrupt or mess with their objective control setup. So Alice gets picked here as a replacement for Uranus. She's someone who can soak damage while also forcing out enemy skills, and at the same time, she's great for chasing and disrupting a lot of people with her teleport and stun. So this pressures those two when they're trying to engage and disengage. But Omega instantly responds with Gatot and Arlott. Gatot is clearly picked as an answer to Kalia. Kalia ults, Gatot ults near Kalia, and Kalia's team are forced to back off, so Kalia won't have anybody to help with the pick-off attempts, while Arlott gets secured because Aurora still hasn't locked in their gold laner yet, and there are still a lot of viable positioning-based gold laners that could work well into Omega's draft. Fighter gold lane isn't really ideal here, since Arlott and Valentina can easily bait and punish those type of heroes. So Arlott becomes a really strong pick in the situation. Omega's draft so far is really solid. They've got tools to punish positioning heroes and control fights at the same time. And Aurora finished the draft with Granger. Honestly, they don't have really much of a choice here. Omega's damage dealers are all pretty squishy, even though they're hard to catch, so once you burst them, they instantly die, and Aurora actually has decent cover this time. So even with Arlott and Harley on the enemy side, they still need a gold laner that can snowball early and not fall behind in power spikes. And picking other options would be awkward into Omega's draft. Yisanshin is already banned. Harith doesn't really fit because Aurora needs explosive, unexpected damage, not sustained dancing fights, and Moskov is way too risky since Harley can just kidnap him during split push. So that leaves Granger and Carry. Even though they're still positioning-based gold laners, at least they both can deal damage early, can snowball easily, and have the mobility to dash around and avoid damage, making them harder to catch compared to other positioning gold laner. So in game 2, both teams are technically running pick-off drafts, but Omega is more of a hybrid. Half of their lineup is built for full team fights, while the other half focuses on pick-offs. Arlott and Valentina are flexible pieces that can fit into either playstyle depending on how the fight plays out. But even with that flexibility, it's not going to be easy for Omega because Aurora's draft is stacked with strong early game heroes with insane snowball potential. And on top of that, there's Kalia, who can instantly shut down Harley if he ever tries to go for a pick-off. So while Omega's draft looks more versatile on paper, Aurora's draft is way more explosive if they even got a small lead. And in game, Aurora was already one step ahead. They knew Omega's mid trio desperately need level 4 to function, so they immediately abused their early game power. They pressured everywhere, mid, top, bot, even the jungle, because if this worked, it would slow down Omega's pick-off attempts significantly. But Ryzen made a really smart move here. Instead of instantly taking his red buff and gank the bottom lane faster, he went straight to contest the Pokemon to match Demon Kite's XP, because if he gets that, their level stays the same. And after that, he doesn't rotate down like a typical jungler. He clears the top jungle first to prevent it from getting stolen by Suyo. Why does that matter? Because at level 3, Suyo already has his ultimate. If he gets that jungle, Aurora could instantly set up a sandwich play on Netsuki up top. So because of Ryzen's pathing, Demon Kite's farming gets delayed. He has to walk further to take his jungle, while Ryzen is already moving efficiently along his route. And the result, Omega secured the rotation. First blood goes to Omega and the first turtle too. And suddenly, despite Aurora having a draft with insane snowball potential, Omega is the one winning early game. Second turtle spawns, and this time Aurora set up first since their area control hero is still alive. So everyone groups up. Aurora is shaping for a chaotic teamfight, but Omega is ready. They're setting up a counter with Arlott's flicker combo into Gatot's taunt, making the area extremely dangerous. And on top of that, Mingwin steals Kalia's ultimate too. That's the scary part, because now while Aurora is busy dealing with Arlott and Gatot causing chaos in the front, Valentina can just slip in, kidnap Demon Kite and hand him over to Ryzen for every kill, or make him can't retrieve the turtle. So Aurora's setup could instantly flip into Omega's perfect counter engage, but Light already saw that coming. So he instantly jumped into the bush to deny Mingwin any chance of surprising Demon Kite. Now even though Aurora looks like they got more value, they got turtle plus a kill, Omega is actually the one coming out ahead here. Look at what happened during that distraction. While Aurora was fully focused on the turtle fight, Netsuki's split push response was perfect. All the gold from that lane goes straight into him, which means he'll get more items faster than Domeng, and Omega will win in terms of damage output later on. And that fits perfectly into Omega's hybrid draft. But even though Omega still won the value from that turtle fight, Aurora still has the edge in overall damage dealers at this minute. That forces Omega into one option. They have to kidnap someone before the fight even starts every single time and play the numbers game for a while. So they set it up from both sides, left, right, every angle. They even hit the lanes to split Aurora's even more with Netsuki's split push. So Aurora gets caught off guard and Domeng gets picked off instantly. Now both teams are even in terms of damage dealers. But here's the catch, Omega already dumped everything onto Domeng earlier, which means if Aurora forces a fight right now, Omega doesn't have the skills to properly respond. And Edward recognized that instantly. He forces the fight, trying to trade back for Domeng and punish Omega while their resources are down. Third turtle spawns and everyone is online and both teams set up at the same time. But during the waiting period, Aurora realizes one hard truth. They literally can't show up on the map at all, because the moment anyone shows, they're just gonna get kidnapped instantly like before. So the mindset becomes, if we cannot show ourselves, then we play fast, hit and run, no getting caught. So Aurora groups up and hides near Edward, who's holding the turtle area while also gathering information. On the other side, Omega sets up with a 3-2 split. This tree exists to distract and bait Aurora to show themselves, while the other two are ready to kidnap the most impactful hero at this moment, which is Kimi or Suyo. It's a clean plan, but it falls apart because of Yue. So Perks tries to go in, taunting Demon Kite to stop him from securing the turtle, but Light instantly catches James, denying Omega the chance to do a fast retake with Arlott's ult combo, and everything turns into chaos from there. The dust settles, it's looking bad for Omega. Aurora is now up in a lot of gold, and Omega's early lead is completely gone. Honestly, at this point, the game is already back in Aurora's control. They just need to play discipline, secure Lord, and win. But Omega isn't just sitting there doing nothing. they're still making moves even when it's risky. Like, Netsuki keeps split pushing alone, constantly applying lane pressure. And because of that, even though Omega is behind, they're still getting gold from Netsuki's split push. That's what keeps them in the game. So even under heavy pressure, Omega still has the guts to make moves. And that's exactly why they can keep up with Aurora. They're not scared to pull the trigger. Although to be fair, they have to play like that, because their draft, Arlott, Harley, Valentina and Cloud, if they don't make sudden moves, those guys lose their value, especially against a draft like Aurora that has 2 strong initiators. So if Omega just waits, they'll just get wiped out over and over easily. So the moment they see the smallest opening, they always take the risk, and that opening shows up. Domeng is seen on the bottom lane right as the Lord spawns. In the late game, there's no way a gold laner will be left alone. There's always at least 1 or 2 people backing him up, right? And Omega instantly recognizes it, so they rush the Lord without gathering any info first. This is a really risky move because Omega don't know if someone is hiding in the area to steal the Lord. And Aurora doesn't expect this move at all because they already won in terms of everything. So free Lord for Omega. That single move evens out the turret situation and lets Omega catch up back in gold. From a losing position, they're suddenly right back in the game. Second Lord spawns. This time, Aurora is ready. They've already won objective fight twice with the same initiation strat. So they stick to what works, group up, and let UA scout for info again. But Omega flips the script. They're like, what if we intentionally show ourselves to UA and then disappear somewhere else? So Netsuki and Perk stay at Lord as bait so Kimi won't scout for vision again, while the rest of Omega quietly look for an angle to pressure from another side and win through the numbers advantage. This fight is about to get scary. The fight starts. Netsuki and Perk step up together, zoning hard so Yue can't walk forward and deal damage. In response, Edward teleports behind Omega, trying to cut off their follow-up damage dealers and trap them. But that move backfires because Edward didn't hit a key target with his initiation. Omega suddenly has the skill advantage now, and Ryzen immediately capitalizes it. He and Perks kidnaps Domeng when he's distracted with the front line, and just like that, Aurora loses their core damage dealer. But Aurora tries to recover by switching the plan to just secure the Lord instead. But Ryzen doesn't let it happen. The confidence from Omega here is insane. They execute the bait perfectly, absorb Aurora's pressure, then slowly push them back step by step until Aurora just gets overwhelmed. But since Aurora won in hero power after the fight, Omega is left with only their utility heroes, while Aurora still has their DPS alive. Aurora can quickly clears the Lord to prevent any turret loss and avoid getting pressured by the super minions. Now Omega starts to realize something important from that previous fight. The key to Aurora's win condition is Edward. He's the only one who can really lock down an area for Aurora before fights even begins. And in late game situations like this, when lanes are far out and getting slow push, you have to clear them whether you like it or not, or your turrets just disappears. But Aurora can't send Domeng or Yue to do it, because they're the late game insurance. Losing either one is game ending. So you also can't go because the Lord is about to spawn. So the most logical play for Aurora is send the XP laner to clear the far lane, while the rest delay the Lord fight as long as possible, then wait for Edward to finish and join, or maybe find a flank angle, because in situations like this, flank angles are everywhere, especially for a hero like Alice. But Omega reads this perfectly. They prepare for that exact scenario. And it happens. Edward moves to clear the far lane before Lord. That instantly shuts Aurora out of the contest because their only area control plus information gatherer is gone, so they are forced to give it to Omega. The Lord spawns and Omega shift their focus, prioritizing top lane to balance the pressure since their top turret is about to fall, and Light tries to rotate for a flank because everyone from Omega is showing on the map because of the vision from Magic Sentry. So Light immediately identifies the most impactful target at this moment, Ryzen. Because unlike Cloud, Harley can freely dive and instantly kill a key hero inside the base without needing perfect positioning. So Aurora is planning a two-sided attack, and at this point, both teams already has a clear plan. But which one is stronger? And Aurora manages to perfectly defend the top lane, while Omega sets up a solid plan by stacking with the Lord, but they didn't anticipate Light's flank, and that throws Omega's movement completely off balance. Now the Lord has evolved. this is a do or die situation for both teams, because both sides don't have any strong high ground heroes to defend the base, so the result of this fight can get really messy for the losing team. But both drafts has their own advantages. Aurora has strong area control, so they're better in a full-on 5v5 teamfights, but Omega has a triple denier setup, a perfect counter to engage first drafts like Aurora. So Omega starts first, using Cloud to bait and force Aurora to move, but Aurora adjusts. Instead of blindly going in like before, they slow it down and open with a 2-3 formation. In previous objective fights, they played the front to back, hit front line first, then kill the rest. Now they switch it up. Light and Demon Cat move to the top side, clearing the lane and setting up a flank angle. This can shut down Omega's 3 denier heroes that are threatening Alice, Kalia and their marksman, so Aurora has 2 possible win conditions here. Number 1, bait out most of if not all of Omega's deniers with this guy, then attack from 3 different angles after Omega got baited and separated. Or go high risk high reward, stack on Ryzen, remove him and instantly take the Lord control with their 2 marksmen. The fight begins. Aurora starts by clearing top lane to hide their flank setup. Near Lord, Ryzen shows his cards, which means he's very close to the Lord pit, so Aurora instantly conceals to catch him off guard, while Edward is doing a lineup for his orb, ready to hit Ryzen along with the flanker. But here's the problem, they don't see James camping in this grass, because in previous fights, James was always playing front to deny Edward, so Aurora assumes he's in the usual spot, but this time he's not. And that one detail flips everything. So Demon Cat gets caught, Perks locks down Yue, and Edward finds Ryzen. Both teams fire back at the same time, but Omega handles it better. They completely shut down Aurora's scary retake attempt and strike back to tie the score 1-1. Now we're back to Aurora getting the first pick again, with basically the same bans as game 1. With the same pick being Valentina, so it's pretty clear Aurora is trying to recreate the same draft situation from earlier. And it makes sense that game 1 draft was really good because they have high snowball potential, strong area control, and balanced damage from mid to late game with strong countering capability. So Omega immediately draft to anticipate that situation. They pick Jennifer as a response, mainly as a safety option in case Aurora goes for Suyo again, since those two basically counter each other. But even if Suyo doesn't show up, Jennifer is still valuable because she's flexible and doesn't have to be locked into jungle, so it doubles as a flex pick. And they stole Cloud as well, just to deny it from Domain, because we already saw in game 1 how dangerous that guy can be in Aurora's hands. So Aurora responds with Moskov, and this pick does a lot for them. First, it gives them something to deal with Cloud, since Moskov can pin him down into a wall and lock him down if he doesn't have Purify. Second, it helps stabilize the lane pressure against Cloud in the late game. And third, it forces Aurora to send at least one person to handle Moskov on the far lane all the time, which makes it harder for Omega to group up as 5 consistently. They also pick Sora to give Aurora an extra edge in teamfights, both in terms of damage output and control. So Omega responds by locking in Alice, mainly to not lose the matchup against Sora, both in lane and later in teamfights. And they double down on controlling the tempo, so they ban Suyo and Harley to make sure they don't fall behind in farming pace like in game 1, since Aurora's jungler hasn't been revealed yet. On the other side, Aurora removes Kimi and Khalid, 2 really strong zoner heroes, because looking at Aurora's draft so far, they would struggle a lot if they had to play into heavy zoners. Even if Omega has one of those guys in their draft, they can completely shut down Aurora's movement and make it hard for them to even enter fights properly. And Omega secured Lu Yi so they can move quickly and also stop Moskov from freely split pushing. And Aurora responds by picking Grok and Leomord. Grok here is a response pick. If Jennifer or Cloud dives in, he can instantly mess up their movement with his ability. Grok can also cancel Cloud's ult, so Aurora can win in overall area damage, and Grok adds another layer to that problem, because he can literally reset the turtle or lord with his wall, which makes objective control way harder for Omega. So if Omega decides to put Jennifer in the jungle, securing objectives becomes really tricky. Then there's Leomord. Aside from being an S tier jungler pick, he's actually really good into Jennifer, because his skills can disrupt her movement, he's tanky but still deals damage, so he won't just get blown up, and he's really strong in objective fights. But even so, snowballing won't be easy because Omega's heroes are either slippery or annoying to kill, so chasing them down with a walking hero like Leomord is still kinda tricky. And Omega finished the draft with Fanny, and this is where things get annoying for Aurora. Because if you remember from M7, and even to now, Aurora has always struggled against Fanny. And looking at their draft, they barely have any reliable lockdown heroes. Which means Fanny is probably going to be completely free against Aurora's usual draft style. I mean, yeah, there's Moskov, but he's not gonna be on the same area as Fanny all the time, right? And because of that, Aurora is now forced into an awkward position. So that's the draft for Game 3. Aurora goes back to their usual style, objective control focus and prioritizing jungle economy over kills and assists. Meanwhile, Omega sticks with Epic of draft again. Their win condition is clear, kidnap one hero or split them up first, then play the numbers game like in Game 1, because in a straight 5v5, Aurora's composition is just way stronger, they're favored to win every time. So both teams are forced to play it super careful in the early game because they're up against really strong space deniers. If either jungler messes up even a little, they're basically dead. And for snowball type heroes like them, dying early is a disaster for the whole team. So both sides just play it slow and clean. Omega even gives up the first turtle to Aurora because they're behind in power spikes. Jennifer still doesn't have ult yet, while all of Aurora already hit theirs, so contesting is just too risky. But Ryzen still tries to trade turtle for Domain so they don't lose anything. But he gets spotted, so he's forced to back off, so both teams are playing safe again. Second turtle, and Aurora opens by invading Fanny's buff to force Ryzen to use his retribution early. The idea is to make Demon Kite doesn't have to worry about a retribution battle while also dealing with Fanny flying around. But Ryzen doesn't even contest his own buff, because all 5 of Aurora's members shows up at mid. That means there's nobody defending Demon Kite's buff, so instead he just trades it. He gives up his buff and steals Demon Kite's blue instead. Omega also starts switching their approach here, because everyone knows Aurora is known for their stick to objective heavy play, so Omega tries to punish that habit. Instead of contesting the turtle, they start split pushing, trying to force Aurora to spread out because Aurora's pattern is always the same. Whenever there's an objective after Domain got his first item, they always stack 5 people there, and that leaves other lanes completely open. They also try to shut down Moskov's late game split push by prioritizing turrets over turtle. Their idea is simple: if your turrets are already gone and you try to split push later, it's gonna be risky because you're just asking to get sandwiched from every angle. Plus, the gold value between turtles and turrets is almost the same anyway. So Aurora gets the turtle, while Omega answers with a turret. 2 turrets, and this pattern keeps repeating. Aurora tries to force a teamfight. Ryzen pushes a side lane far away and pulls the pressure out to the lane instead of the fight. When Aurora is setting up again, he cuts another lane and forces them to respawn, so they keep getting pulled out of their own formation. And when Omega has the opportunity to take the turtle, they skip it because it's already late game and the Lord is about to spawn. So they go straight for the Lord control, and Aurora can't contest it properly since they don't have their controller in position. Only Light is actually in the area, while Edward is still too far from the pit. So Aurora is forced to give it up, and Omega converts that into more turrets through the Lord push and super minions. And the second Lord spawns, and Omega setups first again because they already have the numbers advantage. Yue got picked off by Ryzen in mid earlier, so Light tries to gather vision around the Lord, hugging the wall, so if he gets engaged, he can instantly ult into the wall and stun anyone who steps in. But Omega already reads it, so James conceals, and it caught Light off guard, and Omega fully commits onto Light before he can do anything. And Aurora is forced to back off again because they don't have vision and area control anymore. This is getting worse and worse for Aurora. Omega has now clearly identified Aurora's weak point. And to make things worse for Aurora, they still don't really have a proper answer to Fanny here. Domain is technically the only one who can deal with her, but he's rarely in the same area. He's usually sitting in a side lane, and only joins fights after everyone has already used their key skills. On top of that, Aurora also don't have a real answer for Omega's tanky frontline. This is different from the previous game. Back then, even though Aurora had a really tanky frontline, Omega had heroes that could actually shred through that kind of durability. Here, it's not the same story. Leomord's damage can be reduced heavily just by items. Yue's whole combo won't be enough to really threaten sustain heavy targets. Edward, Sora's assassin mode is mostly used for the squishy rather than melting the frontline. And Domain is basically never there early in fights anyway. So even though Aurora technically still wins in area control, utility, and overall draft structure, they loses hard in rotation speed and raw damage output. And that's what makes this game so rough for them, because at the end of the day, the only real winning condition Aurora has is if Light finds a perfect moment to swing a fight. But it's hard for Light to find that moment because Omega rarely groups up and just focus on split pushing in this game. The reason why Omega only split push is because every team that used the group up strat always struggles against a team that understands split push, so Omega is fully leaning into that. Their heroes move fast, can rotate faster, and constantly force Aurora to choose between holding objectives or saving lanes. That's exactly how it should look when you understand the natural counterplay. So Natsuki gets teleported to the far lane to create pressure while Aurora is focused on the second lord. And Ryzen clears the top wave, so Aurora is forced to respond to both and rotate, which immediately makes their lord setup unstable. And suddenly Aurora isn't playing as a full unit anymore because they're split, and that's the worst case scenario for a team like theirs. So now Aurora is stuck in a real dilemma. If they take the fight at Lord, they lose damage because they're already separated. If they defend, they lose numbers at Lord and risk giving it for free. And if they try to stick on Lord, they get hit from 3 different angles at once. So what will Aurora choose when they're pressured like this?
Phantom Steed plus the Rampart, blazing the wet defensively used. In comes the rest of Aurora, and it's Demon Kite.
At this point, their only hope is basically waiting for a mistake from Omega because the map state is already against them. And they did. Omega made a huge blunder. Omega are forcing to push instead of securing a free lord. This gives Yue an opportunity to defend the push. So the lord evolves, and this time Aurora is actually the one who set up first because they know they still have control in straight up fights. Their mindset is simple. If Light finds even one good moment, they can still turn the whole game around. But Omega is still sticking to the split push plan because they know they're losing control in full 5v5 setups. So they run a 4-1 formation, 4 players grouping up to contest and fight at Lord, while Ryzen stays completely separated on the other side, looking for a potential flank angles. If there's no flank opportunity, he can also push the lane because it's already being prepared for a straight push. So the fight breaks out. Perk starts by concealing, trying to find and leave Demon Cat so he can't get the Lord. But Edward is already there and interrupts the engage. So James immediately reacts by using his ultimate on Demon Cat to lock him down and prevent any movement or retry control. While all the noise are happening at Lord, Ryzen is already flying straight toward Aurora's base. So while everything at Lord looks like a full contest, Omega's real plan isn't even about the fight. It's the pressure from the lane. They're deliberately creating noise at Lord to force Aurora's attention, while in reality, they're just buying time for Ryzen to finish clearing wave and threaten to ending the game.
SOD misses,